There we go. And our recording will be added to our MAXtech Powered by kvCORE webinars recording sheet. Now, if this is your first webinar with us, or maybe you haven't been able to grab this in past webinars, I'll make sure to post that in the chat. So here we go, recording sheet going in the chat for you guys. And today we're talking about building your pipeline. So that's going to be, if you look at the bottom, that little orange tab that you hit. Or you could also additionally, just, on the left-hand side, this little hamburger icon will take you to all sheets. So you can go scroll around to the webinar that you want to watch the recording of. So if you miss any parts of today's webinar, I'll try to share this out in the chat a little bit later as well for those of you that are coming in a little bit later. I know there's always someone who's going to ask at the end of the webinar if this was recorded, so I'll make sure to share it out again then. And today's recording will be right here under this sheet. Now, if you're planning on sticking with us for the entire webinar and you're not too worried about catching today's webinar, keep in mind that this is also a good sheet to bookmark for later, as it has all of our other RE/MAX exclusive webinar recordings in it as well. So if you want to watch all the webinars, really get in touch with your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform, and maybe you're not able to attend every webinar live, this is a great additional resource. Now, if you're looking to attend all of those webinars live, I'll provide you with another resource here. We've got a little link tree that we've created for you all that talks, or that gives you all of the registration links to all of our RE/MAX exclusive webinars. So I'm going to make sure you guys have this link tree with the registration links so you can attend those live if you would like. Now, if you're not able to click that link, I believe these registration links should also be available through your Max Center University. And I'll let you guys know when you're looking at these MAXtech webinars, let me give you a little breakdown. So the first 6 options are a typical hour-long webinar. There are tutorial-based information, whichever trainer is teaching that current webinar will probably go through a short slide deck, give you demonstrations within the platform itself, and hopefully answer some questions, time allowing. But the Ask Me Anything offering down here at the bottom, well, that is just for questions. There's no tutorial. They're only about a half hour long. You can jump in just about any time within that half hour. And typically, depending on how many people have joined, they'll unmute you, allow for questions, and that's really all the trainer is there to do. They're there to answer your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform questions. So if you just want a resource to ask your questions, please, please, please take advantage of the Ask Me Anything. And typically, if you've just got a couple questions, you get them answered, you can jump right back out so you don't have to hang out for the whole half hour. So Ask Me Anything is your question resource. Think of it as open office hours. These other webinars are tutorial-based information, and they do last about an hour. All right, so let's jump into let's jump into my slide deck and talk a little bit about today's topic. I also want to introduce myself if I haven't done so already. My name is Mariel Ortiz. I'm a product trainer here at Inside Real Estate, the platform that's bringing you your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. And I started with this company several years back, actually in our lead configuration department, which is the team which specializes in doing bulk imports of contacts. So that's my background. That's kind of my specialty. Before I became a trainer, that was kind of my whole life. So that's kind of where my history is from. So I love teaching these building your pipeline webinars, because it's really, during this webinar, this is where we're going to talk about, why it's important to bring in your sphere of influence, or really all your contacts. We're going to talk about different ways to add those contacts. I want to make sure this is all crystal clear so you know your options. We're going to talk about one of the ways in particular, quite a lot, we're going to talk about bulk importing, if you have a file or spreadsheet of contacts, how to bring them in mass. And if that's the method you're choosing, or one of the methods you're choosing, how to make sure you've prepped your list for success. So you're really bringing in good information to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE Smart CRM. And that way you're really, starting off on a good basis. And then additionally, for anyone out there who's maybe a newer agent or just kind of thinking to yourself, I just don't have any contacts to bring into the system. Where's everyone getting their contacts from? I've got a really fun exercise. We call it the 10 by 10, where you can generate a list of about 100 contacts in really a matter of minutes. So I'll talk about that as well as we go along here. And then, of course, if you're looking for kind of your next steps, if you're looking at that, that link tree of all these webinar options, and you're kind of wondering, which webinars are really most important to me, which ones should I be taking? I'm just going to give you a little hint right here. If you haven't taken How It Works for Agents, or maybe you don't have access to the platform yet, or maybe you have access and you're not sure where to start with training, How It Works for Agents is kind of that introduction. It takes kind of a grand tour of the platform and the training resources in particular. So you know how to reach out to support, how to reach out, how to find support articles or YouTube channel, Facebook group, etc. Then, of course, kind of after that, I do recommend this webinar typically, because once you've got access to the platform, you want to make sure you get all those contacts in. If you don't have access to the platform just yet, I'm not saying you can't hang around here, but just know that you'll probably want to wait till you have access to the platform to actually get your contacts in. In the meantime, you can do things like prep your list. So not a bad plan. And then, of course, once you got your contacts in, that's when powering up your automations is so, so important. We want to make sure you're taking advantage of all those tools built into your platform. And then, of course, really the key to having a healthy book of business as a real estate agent is making sure that you're continuously generating new leads. You're adding more contacts to that CRM. So generate new leads is a great one kind of when you're ready for that final step. So that's kind of the way I would propose them, but just letting you know what those kind of next steps options are. All right, so let's start with talking a little bit about why it's important to add your sphere of influence or contacts of influence. Maybe you've just called it sphere. For anyone who's not sure what I'm talking about when I say sphere of influence or contacts of influence, we're talking about people you're closest with, your friends, your family members, your neighbors, your coworkers, people who may or may not be interested in real estate. A lot of people assume that their CRM should just be a place to house their leads, people they know that are genuinely interested in real estate. And some people work it that way, and that's totally fine. But ultimately, the more contacts and leads that you have in your platform, the more powerful it will make it and the more money you will make. So the reason we really recommend having everyone in there is think about it. You are one individual person, and think about how many people in the grand scheme of things, how many people if you're really including every sort of group that you may have a connection with. We already talked about friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, but think about, if you belong to a gym or a book club, or, if you have children, your children's friends, parents, think about anyone. There's so many different groups which you belong to. And with kvCORE, it's not just about nurturing those real estate leads, although obviously that's a big part of it, but you can bring in your personal contacts as well. You can make sure that everyone whose birthday has an automated birthday email or text message. So you look like that rock star person who just never forgets a date. You're always on top of it. You can send out holiday messages. You can do monthly newsletters through the platform. Essentially, it's important to make sure that you're staying top of mind with everyone you know. You never want to be that person that, that finds out that, your great aunt Susan, just decided to sell her home through another agent because she forgot that you were in real estate. So a good idea just to make sure that you're staying in touch with all of your contacts and having them all in the system and making sure that they're all being followed up with is really the best method. It's also going to help you stay organized, having them one place where you can pull up anyone's contact information. So long story short, want to make sure we're bringing everyone in. All right, so let's talk a little bit about different ways to add your contacts to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. So the three listed here we're going to talk about today are bulk import, syncing third-party leads. So if you're currently paying for a third-party lead source, whether that be something like Zillow or Realtor.com or Sync, or, the list goes on and on. I'll give you some examples as we go along here. Essentially, if you're purchasing third-party leads and you're generating new leads now, in most instances, you can connect that third-party lead source to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform, so that every time you generate a new lead, it flows directly to your smart CRM. Again, we don't care where your contacts or leads are coming from, but we want to give you the opportunity to have them all in one place, make sure they're all staying followed up with, and really keeping yourself organized. Now, additionally, the third way that we'll talk about here today is the ability to sync your Gmail or Outlook account to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. And what's really nice about this feature is it's not just for syncing contacts. You can sync over your emails, you can sync over your Google Calendar. So again, you can view all those things in your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. And it's just kind of like your one-stop shop. You get to have, one tab on your computer where you can access everything you need for your business. So one thing I'll just kind of back up before we move to kind of this next step is I mentioned we're probably going to spend a lot of time talking specifically about bulk importing. And I'll let you know with bulk importing, there's two main options. You can absolutely handle that bulk import yourself. We have videos, we have guides, we have a template if you want to know how to format your leads, so that way they'll be read correctly by the system and all that information will come in. But we have a much easier option as well. We have a option called Let Us Handle It, in which case we have a team of what we call our lead configuration specialists that are going to accept your submitted files, do final edits to that file, add it to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE Smart CRM, and send you an email once it's complete. And it's really that simple. It's a free service. You can submit as many files as you like this way. Even if you have a new file every single week, you could go and submit them. It'll always be there for you. But no matter which option you're choosing, whether you're going to import them yourself or send them over to our team, there is a little prep work that we recommend that you do. I know there's some of you out there that may be, just really uncomfortable by the thought of, using Excel or Google Sheets, and, it's a little overwhelming looking at spreadsheets. We're going to talk about some of those best practices and hopefully make it really easy about, kind of what we recommend is pretty simple steps when it comes to prepping your list. So what do you need to know when it comes to prepping that list? Well, kind of first thing that I'll recommend is, of course, make sure you're opening that file in Excel or Google Sheets. If you don't have Excel, that's fine. Google Sheets is free. It's available to everyone. It's pretty user-friendly. Actually, I tend to prefer Google Sheets because I find that it's a little bit easier for most people than Excel. And when you open it in Google Sheets, the very least you want to take a look at it, make sure that information's up to date. I can't tell you how many times files have been sent over to our lead configuration team where somebody accidentally submitted the wrong file, or, maybe they sent over file thinking they had exported all their contacts and maybe just exported one, or maybe, sent over, I don't know, something that didn't have accurate information or was missing a lot of information because something went wrong with their export. So it's always a good idea to check it, make sure that it all looks as you expect it to look. Definitely double check for any, junk contacts, spam contacts that you no longer, want in your database. I know, for example, and when, I don't think I mentioned this previously, for those of you that are wondering, where can I bring contacts in mass from? Besides the obvious, some of you I know probably coming over from past CRMs or databases, and you've got a file of contacts that you can bring on over. But for those of you that don't have something like that, I'm sure you probably consider that you have contacts in your phone or your email or your MLS. Well, those are all sources where you can go to export a file or spreadsheet of contacts from as well. And for contacts like, say if I'm exporting all the contacts from my email, If I'm looking through that list of contacts, I'm sure I've got some junk ones in there that I probably want to remove. I probably got a couple contacts in there that are maybe, support teams from programs or software or systems that I no longer use. So always a good idea to double check, remove anyone that shouldn't be in there. I do think it's worthwhile to do these initial steps before you bring it in. You can always remove contacts from your database once they're already in your CRM. But sometimes, honestly, it's much easier to kind of see where the issues or the errors are in a spreadsheet when you can see all their information mapped out in one sheet. Now, in addition to kind of that initial step, when it comes to prepping your list, there's a couple things we definitely recommend are complete. We recommend that they have a full name in that spreadsheet, an email address, a cell phone. Now, why those ones in particular? I'm sure for most of you that seems probably like maybe a no-brainer. Or, of course, why wouldn't you want to have their name, email, and phone number? Why I mentioned name in particular, I'll give you a little example in my CRM in the platform. So I head over to the Smart CRM, and maybe I want to send, this first person here, we've got Akbar. I'm going to go and send him a email, and I'm going to go and I'm going to use one of the templates pre-created by kvCORE. kvCORE is a lot of email text templates, lots of pre-created options for you. And these are really excellent, especially if you want to send out mass messaging, because I didn't have to just check one contact. I could have checked off everyone on that file or everyone on that first page in my CRM. And, I'll send them an email, and while I'm sending them the same template, the same email message, each one would look unique to them because we have merge tags. So you'll notice this is hi, first name, and the first name's in fancy brackets. That's considered a merge tag. It's going to take their contact information from their profile in my Smart CRM. It's going to autofill that in there. We have lots of different merge tags. These ones down at the bottom are also merge tags. So it's going to insert my first name, my last name, where it says agent first name, agent last name. A little note as well, this little sun icon, if I go click on that, I can see all the various merge tags that I can insert. So I can insert office information, team, listing, information about me, information about the lead. I can insert their email or location or primary phone. So lots of options with those merge tags, but you get the picture. Always a good idea to make sure you have their names in there, because say you're sending out a mass email, you're using a template, it's going to try to insert their name with that merge tag. And if you don't have their first name filled out, it's probably going to look a little funny. It's going to, they may have assumed previously that that email was coming directly from you, but after they see that, it says hello blank or something to that extent, you're going to be able to tell that, oh, this is an automated message. So addition to filling out their name, we want to make sure we have email and cell phone. Now, email and cell phone are both important for using the automation in kvCORE. You can mass text, as I've mentioned, through the platform. You can make calls through the desktop or through the mobile app. When it comes to email, not only can you send out mass emails, but there's a lot of automation pieces that use email. So search alerts, market reports, home valuations, typically all use email. Another reason why email is so important is if you're worried about duplicate leads, emails actually how the platform detects those duplicate contacts. So for example, I'll go take a look at my CRM one more time. So we'll pretend that Bob's here is in my CRM. We'll pretend his email address is bobsmith@gmail.com. Now, maybe I decide, I purchase a farm list, or I export contacts from one of my other databases. And for whatever reason, Bob's also in that new file that I've just exported. I want to bring these contacts in mass. Well, if Bob Smith is in that file, but he has the same email address, what'll happen is when I go to import that, it's going to flag that Bob has already been entered into my CRM and not import him a second time. So that helps you, keep from adding that same duplicate information again and again. So whenever possible, full name, email, cell phone. Now, these other options that are listed here on my screen may seem less familiar if you're newer to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform, and those are status, deal type, hashtag, and source. So let's talk a little bit about those. So these are kind of some phrases and terminology that we use here at kvCORE for labeling your contacts. And I'm going to share out a little support guide for you guys. This is called our kvCORE dictionary. I know I've popped a couple links in the chat so far. This is another good one to bookmark. The kvCORE dictionary has a lot of the terminology that we use here at kvCORE. Some of you are wondering, maybe this is your first time using a CRM, or maybe you're wondering, what does IDX mean when it says web and IDX? But specifically, I like to share out the support article because there's a whole section on basic categories for your leads, and it links to other support articles that'll talk about these topics. Oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer, just noticed your question in the chat. On duplication, does it not give you an alternative to choose which contact info is more updated? Not during the import process. It does just detect those duplicates and not import them in. Not to confuse you, there is technically a way to kind of override that and bring all those duplicate contacts in, and then you could technically, or say if you brought that duplicate contact in because it didn't have the same email address, maybe they used an alternative email address, or maybe the email address was missing in your file. If you had duplicate contacts, you can actually choose to merge contacts in your CRM, or after the fact, you could just look at both, decide which one you want to delete. I will say, if you're merging contacts one by one, that can be a very time-consuming process. But yes, unfortunately, there's no option during the actual import process for you to choose which contact info is more correct. So it doesn't really give you a choice. If it has the same email, it's just going to flag that it's already been added. Okay, so great question. And then Audra mentioned in the Q&A, I have completed the How It Works webinar and the system will not let me pass this in Max Center. What do I do? Audra, are you an agent or an admin? I would say, I will let you know that typically, oh, you're at both. Okay. So if you're seeing a little message that pops up on your screen that says something like, I'm sorry, we're not ready for you yet. That typically means there's still something going on either with your websites becoming live, or maybe there's, still getting MLS agreements, something to that extent. If you feel like it's been a really long time and you're concerned that, that something's not quite right, this doesn't seem right, that you're still seeing this message after all this time, then I would reach out to our support team, because they can check your specific franchise and try to find out, where you are along that system and if you are receiving that message correctly. So if you don't have access necessarily to the platform itself, then I would have you send them an email. I'll pop it in the chat here. It's kvCORE@insiderealestate.com. You go. All right. And then Jim says, can you have emails from contacts in database automatically show up in the database? Yes, I did mention that there is an option to sync your email, or sorry, have emails from contacts in the database automatically show up in the database. Now, Jim, when you're asking this question, are you talking about, maybe past emails that you've interacted with this person, maybe through your Gmail or Outlook, or are you talking about contacts that you're sending through the system? So I'll show you real quick. For any of these contacts, I can see in their activity, I can see how many emails I've sent to them through the kvCORE platform. Additionally, if I go and I click on a person's name, I can see in their timeline all the past emails or text messages that I sent out to this person. I can go and I can view them again. I can see if they've checked those emails. Those are all things that I can see. Now, we won't get to this just yet. It'll be kind of in the second half of the webinar when I get into the demonstration. But there is a way to connect your Google or Outlook mail account. And if you've been sending emails through those options and you go and connect it, you can have those emails be visible in your contacts in your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. So if that contact that's in your email is also in your CRM, you can see those emails here in the platform if you've got your email connected. Hope that helps to clarify. All right, I'm going to continue on because we've got a few more things to talk about before we get to the demonstration portion. I want to make sure I fit everything in. So let's talk a little bit about status, deal type, hashtag, and source, because for a lot of you guys, this is going to be brand new information. So I want to make sure it makes sense. So every contact that gets added to your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE CRM is going to have a status option. Oops. Accidentally clicked it. It's going to have a status. They're all going to have one status at a time. They're meant to change over time, and they kind of relate to where that person or contact or lead is in their client journey. So let me give you some examples here. I'll go and I'll click on our status article in the dictionary. And some statuses that you'll see in your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. And Kate, you just asked, how do I access my CRM? You don't access it through Max Center. You access it through your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. So this is only once you have your MAXtech and you're logged on in that you can go to your smart CRM. So it's not through Max Center at all. So you can see that I've got a couple leads that are listed as new leads. We've got some prospects, clients, active leads. We can see if I go click on filters, these are all of our various statuses, and they relate to where the contact is in their journey. Now, we've already defined sphere. That's considered a status. They may or may not be interested in real estate, people that are close to you. You probably have also an idea of, who your current clients are, or if they have a contract pending, if you've closed a deal with them. But the three that tend to be most kind of unique to kvCORE, maybe a little bit new or maybe a little bit similar, that may need some clarification, are probably prospect, new leads, and active leads. So prospects are people you've already met or have information for. So they're not brand new to you. You've got some information there. They may not be actively searching right now, but you're working to convert them to a real estate lead. This could be someone you met at an open house. This could be maybe you've purchased a for sale by owner spreadsheet. So you know that there's some real estate interest there, but you still got to kind of win them over, convince them that they should do business with you. Now, a brand new lead is someone you know almost nothing about. Maybe they signed up through your website or through a Facebook ad, and you're not sure if they clicked. Maybe they didn't even realize they were clicking on an ad or registering for something through your website. Maybe they just wanted to click on your website because they love looking at $1 million mansions. Or maybe they actually clicked around on your website because they're looking to buy a home in 3 to 6 months. And when someone is a new lead that's coming in through, say, a website or an advertisement, you're on a fact-finding mission to determine where they are in those, kind of what are their next steps. So that is a new lead. And then an active lead here at kvCORE refers to people that are actively, maybe come back to your website to view listings or actively responding to your communication. And, they're more interested, they're a little bit more convinced. You're just working to win them over as a client officially, but they're actively looking now. So those are the statuses. There's one more that you probably may not be familiar with. This is called archive. Archive, just so you know, is another option, kind of an alternative to the trash can in your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. For a lot of you out there may be wondering, for my, spam leads or junk leads, do I trash them? Is there another alternative? While you can always delete a contact entirely, for anyone who may be, and I'm sure, anyone who's been in the business a little while may have experienced something like this, where maybe they get a new lead through their website, maybe you put them on some automation, maybe they're putting on a smart campaign through kvCORE and they're receiving some follow-up information, and then out of nowhere they decide, they respond to you, they say, please unsubscribe me from everything. I'm no longer interested, I'm no longer looking, or I don't want to work with you, or maybe they say something less friendly than that. But rather than deleting that person, there is an option to change their status to archive. Archive in the platform will take them to their own subsection of the CRM. So it's not going to even show with all your other contacts. You'll notice archive can only be selected by itself. I can't select it in addition to other statuses in the platform because it goes to its own section. And what it does is it unsubscribes them from everything, but it saves all of their information. It saves their contact information. It saves all of their past history. So you can see in the timeline any messages that were sent out to them. You have that history. And why this is really helpful is, say that person changes their mind and, 6 months or a year from now, and they go back to your website. You don't want them, if they register, you don't want them to show back up in your CRM like a brand new person who you've never talked to before. You want to know about that past history. So little benefit of that archived status. And Jennifer, when you sync Outlook or Google to kvCORE, it is a two-way sync. Our closed status for past clients, but still have them set up on automation. It's a personal choice. Close, I think of that more so as people you've just closed a deal with. It could be for past clients as well. It kind of depends on how long ago you closed that deal with them. If it's been a really long time, I know some agents may just kind of consider them after a period of time, just back kind of in their sphere because they're not really looking for real estate. But there is automation that can follow up with closed contacts. We do have a closed smart campaign. I will let you know the closed smart campaign will reach out to them as if they've just closed a deal with you. So that's something to consider. So we've talked a little bit about statuses. So everyone's getting a status in kvCORE. Deal types. Now, deal types at kvCORE are also sometimes referred to as lead types. Same thing, don't let it throw you off. And there's 5 different deal types. It's kind of what deal do you hope to do with this person? Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a renter? Additionally, I mentioned in kvCORE, you can bring in other agents. So agent is a deal type, whether you're looking to recruit or whether you've got agents in the system, maybe you just want to keep track of every other agent that you've ever worked with and just have their information in your CRM, or, maybe you can add yourself a little note or tag, really enjoyed working with this person. This person really excels in this area, something like that, just so you know. Additionally, there's a deal type for vendors. So when I'm talking about vendors, now vendors could be, lenders, vendors could be title reps, vendors could be, maybe you've got a guy for just about every situation, someone who does repairs and cleaning or staging. Anyone that you utilize for the business could be, a vendor. So everyone's going to receive a status. We talked about that. Everyone's going to receive at least one deal type. They can be more than one. Makes total sense if I've got a lead who's both looking to sell their home and purchase a new one. So they could be buyer and seller. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, what about our sphere contacts? What about people who aren't interested in, real estate right now? They're not looking to buy or sell. What deal type do I give them? Well, I would choose whatever one is most close to their situation. So, if they are currently renting, I might give them a deal type of renter for now. If they're currently a homeowner, I might give them a deal type of seller right now. Now, to help clarify, so you don't just pull up all your sellers and assume everyone's, looking to sell a home, we also have another categorization option, which is the hashtag. Hashtags can be any phrase of your choosing. There's just no spaces in your hashtags. So it's whatever labels make most sense to you, whatever you want to sort your database by. So I'll give you some examples as we're looking at these. So we pointed out those statuses. Underneath is their deal type. And then underneath the name that I italicized writing, that's their hashtags. So in my database, I've separated out who's just browsing as opposed to who's looking at 3 to 6 months. I've got hashtags for, say, buyer 2024, people who are part of a credit repair program, people that are friends as opposed to family, as opposed to neighbors, as opposed to coworkers. So I can really split up that sphere into even more organized groupings. I can add hashtags for first-time home buyer, for sale by owner, someone who's interested in, say, a pool home listing or a one-story listing or whatever, it is that I specialize in. So lots of hashtag options. You create whatever makes most sense to you. Always go back and clean them up. There's a little hashtag management tool under the marketing tab. So you can go and see every hashtag you've ever created in the system. And you can mass delete, you can merge hashtags if you need to, you can access it all from there. So we've got our status, we've got deal types. Those are both mandatory. Hashtags are technically optional, but trust me, you're going to want to add hashtags to your contacts so you can use your own custom labels. And then source is another option as well. So one more time, I'm going to flip back to the CRM and we can see that I have a column for source. So I've got to indicate anyone who comes directly from my website, they're going to show up as direct website as their source. For some of these contacts that I've added in myself, there's a couple different options here. Open house implies that they came from my open house app. Webinar is actually a source that I created myself, so I can create that. You can add your own source when you're either, say manually entering a contact. You get to choose the source of where you met this person, their source of truth. And then additionally, when you're importing contacts, you can add a column for source. So if you exported contacts from your past CRM or database and used source in your past CRM or database, or it kept track of where each person was captured from, that's their source, that will import into your new system. If you don't have a source column for your file, the source will say lead import because it was a lead which was imported. That is kind of the default if you don't choose source for a file of imported contacts. So those are the 4 options there. Again, everyone's going to have at least one, or everyone's going to have just one status. They're meant to change over time. Everyone's going to have at least one deal type. Hashtags are optional, but you're definitely going to want to use them. You can create as many as you like. And then everyone's going to have one source. Status, deal type, hashtag are all changeable. You can delete them. Well, you can change them. Source, just so you know, once you add a source for someone, it will stay that way. But for example, maybe I met someone at an open house. That was their original source. Maybe I want to get really specific. Maybe it was at the open house for 123 Main Street. So maybe I made that their original source. And then maybe I met that lead at another open house or another one. And then maybe for all those additional places where I met them, maybe I'll add those as hashtags if I want to keep a running record. So we're going to kind of shift gears. We're going to talk about that tip I mentioned earlier for the 10 by 10 add 100 contacts in just a matter of minutes. I'm going to actually give you guys a link to a PDF about the 10 by 10 in the chat for you guys. And I'm also going to provide you with the support article. So I'm popping in the chat a PDF about this 10 by 10 method. And then I've got you can also download it through the PDF, but I've got a little spreadsheet for you guys called Remax 10 by 10. Pop it in the chat here as well. I'll explain how to use this, but if you do want to use this, little pro tip here, it's probably going to say that you can only view it at this point. So you'll have to either go to File and make a copy, or go to File and download. Now, when you're downloading it, you'll see that there's lots of download options. Downloading as an Excel or XLS. We'll download every single tab along the bottom. If you notice, there's quite a few different pages to the spreadsheet. If you download as a CSV, you're just downloading the first page or the main page that you're looking or viewing at that time. So if I just want to download the 10 by 10 by itself, I would download it as a CSV. If I want to download all these tabs, I'll download it as an XLS. Hope that helps to clarify. So starting with this spreadsheet, to do the 10 by 10 exercise, you start with that very first column. This is how do I know you? And in the how do I know you column, you're going to come up with 10 different categories of people which you know. Now, I've explained a couple examples earlier. I've also got a couple on my screen here. Now, this could be people on your holiday card list, people you know with pets, people you know that are renting, people you know that just got married or having a baby or possibly just got divorced, people from the gym, your book club, people you graduated with. This could be your children's friends, parents, lots of categories. Choose whichever one where you feel like you have a group of people which you know. And I want to come up with 10 of these categories. If you feel like this is going to take you forever, set a timer, make it a challenge. If it's a challenge to race that timer to add these in, sometimes it makes it a little bit more fun. And sometimes having a time limit will actually sometimes trigger your brain to work and think a little bit faster. I don't want you guys to overthink this. This is supposed to be a fun exercise that jogs your memory. Now, after you've created 10 categories of people which you know, you're going to go back to that spreadsheet. There we go, 10 by 10. And you'll notice there's a little space in between each 10. You're going to list 10 people for each group of 10. And again, this is when you're going to want to set that timer. You know, it said 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, whatever makes sense to you. And you want to scramble. You want to do this quick, and jog your memory of the people which you know. After your timer goes off, you filled it to the best of your ability. You can go back in and you can add things like emails if you have them, cell phones if you have them. You know, not a bad idea to add in a status, a deal type, a source, or a hashtag for your leads. And if you can't think of a hashtag, think of that category that you know that's already a hashtag for you. So if these first 10 people that I've added in here are, you know, say from my book club, maybe I'll hashtag them book club. And I can always create more hashtags down the road in my CRM. So that is the 10 by 10 exercise for you guys. Feel free to take advantage of that and do it in your own time. You know, even if you already feel like you've got a list of contacts, it's a fun way just to, you know, jog your memory. Pick up all those people that you may have, you know, forgotten about for a little bit, add them to a list, make sure you're bringing really everyone in there. All right, so we're going to shift gears and we're going to go into kind of a demonstration within the platform on where you can access a lot of the tools that we mentioned previously. I'm going to kind of back up. So for those of you that don't already have access to the platform, when you get your welcome email, go log on in. The main screen that you'll see is your dashboard. It's this first page here. Now we're going to utilize these navigation tools on the left. We already talked about the Smart CRM quite a bit, but when it comes to bulk importing contacts or syncing third-party leads, you utilize those options from the lead engine. I'll also point out the lead engine is where you'd go to utilize a lot of our free DIY lead generation tools, which I won't really get into today, but do recommend, we do have a webinar on that about generating new leads. But in the upper right-hand corner, here's that bulk lead import option. This is how you can bring in your file or spreadsheet of contacts in bulk. And lead Dropbox is how you can sync third-party leads. So let's start with bulk lead import. I want to quickly run through this. So that PDF I shared with you guys about the 10 by 10, if for some reason you weren't able to click that in the chat, you can go to learn more or gather your contacts. It will give you that guide. If you forgot everything I said about prepping your file, we have a support article also available here. We have a template if you really want to format all your leads all by yourself and import them all by yourself. You want to know how to properly label them. We have a template, or if you click that 10 by 10, that's what these other tabs at the bottom relate to, because we kind of connected our template onto this. So we've got a commonly used fields option down here at the bottom that gives you examples of leads and how we would label them and kind of all the fields that are commonly used, as it says. The all importable fields is a blank template that just has every single header, every little bit of information that you can't bring in with your contacts. So if you want just something that you can type directly into, this is a good spreadsheet for that. And then fields as listed in kvCORE kind of show what it's going to look like when you go to match your fields appropriately. And fields with descriptions kind of explain what those fields mean for anyone's that you're not quite sure. What does this field relate to? What does that actually mean when they're asking for their, you know, primary city or, you know, for their status? All right. So, nope, never mind, we're hanging out here. So there's a template. And then if we scroll down here, here's the do-it-yourself option. There's a video. There's a whole article about importing contacts. We'll go and I'll share it in the chat for you guys. This also has the templates in that import guide. And you can do that process yourself. As I mentioned, it's a lot easier if you let our team handle it for you. It's, again, a totally free service. You can do it at any time. All you have to do is fill out a short submission form, send that information on over. Now, if you have questions about the submission form, or maybe you're not sure how to export contacts from your email, or maybe you really want to import all these contacts yourself, but you want some guidance, like have I prepped my list properly? Is there anything else I need to edit or change? That they can give you some guidance. You can actually book a one-on-one Zoom screen share with a lead configuration specialist. This is also a totally free service. Now, that is a Zoom screen share. If you book a time with them, it's not a phone call. I'll pop that in the chat as well. They have excellent availability. I'll go and I'll just double check right here on the screen. So you choose the time zone that best applies to you. And let's see, they have times available starting the 2nd of February. They have lots of time slots available. So I would recommend booking today if you know that you need to talk to someone about bringing in your contacts, if you want kind of one-on-one consults. And yeah, that's not a phone call. You get emailed a Zoom link. You can share your screen like what I'm doing here, show them your file, get their expert advice. All right, just want to point out a few things about the submission form. I won't walk through the entire thing with us just because we don't have time, and I got a couple other things I want to show you guys before we wrap it up here. But if you click on the submission form, couple things to note. Obviously, it relies on you filling out all the data in the form and being clear and filling it out completely. And we'll let you know that processing time, it'll tell you up to 3 business days to process that file. They've got a day turnaround time. It's been that way for a very long time. The 3 business days is typically there as a catch-all. If there's maybe an issue with their file, or maybe they're really backed up, it could take a little longer, but typically a day turnaround time. So if you're someone who's not great at editing files in Excel or Google Sheets, I definitely think this is a really quick and efficient way to get your contacts in. Now it's going to autofill in your contact information. Little pro tip here, they're going to reach out to you by email. But they also need to know the correct email for your account. So it's going to autofill in the email associated with your account. You don't want to change this, even if this is not the email that you typically, check on a day-to-day basis. If there's a different email where you'd like to be notified to if your file is complete, just scroll down to the bottom. There's a little additional information box. Just type in there, please CC me at my primary email address, and include that email address there. So little pro tip, you want to leave this one alone. If they have questions or concerns, they're going to email you at whatever you've requested, but this allows them to locate your correct account, make sure your contacts are imported into the correct account. You're going to let them know if you're an agent, a broker, an office manager, if you're working in the US or Canada, who you want the leads assigned to and owned by. If I'm, for example, bringing in contacts from my email, they're my personal contacts. They should be assigned to me, and they should be owned by me. There's a little pop-up just explains the difference between assignment and ownership. You may have some contacts down the line in your CRM that are assigned to you to work, but maybe your company gave them to you, or your team gave them to you. Now you go and you download your file. You do have to attach it to the file, or attach it to the spreadsheet. It does have to be downloaded to your computer for you to be able to select it. And when it comes to adding a file, just know you can only submit 1 file per submission form. So if you've got multiple files, shoot them over, just fill out a different submission form for each. It doesn't matter. You can send as many as you like. And then very important here, it's going to ask what status, hashtag, and deal type for all these contacts. Now, if you use that, say 10 by 10 or template, and you went and you filled out, this person, has a status of sphere, maybe deal type of buyer, hashtag of friend or family, and a source of, I don't know, friend or family, whatever the case may be. You've gone and you filled out the spreadsheet. It's really easy because you just let them know, hey, that's in my spreadsheet. Yes, hashtags are in my spreadsheet. The deal type is already in my spreadsheet. Now, if you haven't filled out a spreadsheet, or if you haven't added in those columns to your existing spreadsheet, there is a drop-down menu. If I'm, again, importing contacts, say from my email, and I know just about everyone in there is a Sphere contact, I can just choose Sphere from the drop-down menu. But you'll notice I can't choose multiple statuses here. because they don't know without me actually labeling people which ones are sphere and which ones are new leads and which ones are clients. So you'll only be able to choose one and they will label everyone in your file that way. Same thing with if you just tell them a hashtag that you want to label all your contacts with. Same thing with if you just choose, oh, I'm going to select buyer. They're going to list everyone in there as a buyer. You can always go change them later, but that's how they will label it as if you just select it from the option menu. And then last but not least, you can't have those contacts automatically set up on search alerts, or it's listed here as listing alerts. Property alerts means the same thing, recurring email that goes out with listings based on your MLS and their home criteria. So you can set them up on search alerts automatically, smart campaigns automatically. If you're not familiar with how this process works, just know you can say no to these for now, or if you're not ready for automation to run, you can say no to these now, and you can always set these options up later in your CRM or direct people to, say, your website and sign themselves up for search alerts, things like that. Now, the other two options about adding contacts to your database, let's quickly cover those. I'll head back to the lead engine, and this time I'm going to click on lead Dropbox. This is for syncing third-party leads, and we've tried to make it really, really easy to understand because we've got new instructions on here. I'm going to click Learn More because I think this is the easiest way to figure it out. You have 3 different codes. You've got a Zillow key, or key or code, same thing. You've got a Zillow key, an email key, and a Zapier key. Now, if your third-party lead source is Zillow, you've got it really easy. You're going to click Steps to Connect. It's going to walk you through that process. You copy that Zillow key, which was actually right down here. Here's all your keys. You'll typically just see 3. If you're an admin in the system, you may see some that are not just agent. You may see some that are for an office or a team or a company. By choosing which group of codes that you're pulling from, you're choosing who's going to own those leads when they come on in. Now, most of you're just working as an agent, so you're just going to see 3 codes. Any leads that you sync over are going to automatically be owned and assigned to you. So it makes it really easy. Now, if your third-party lead source is not Zillow, you're most likely going to use the email key. And we actually have a support guide, which I'm going to pop in the chat, has a long list of all the third-party lead sources that we know can be connected using that email key. It's a very long list. We got apartments.com, boldleads.com, Booge, we've got Drip, we've got Fast Expert, Follow Up Boss, Home Finder, the list goes on and on. Look for your lead source here. If it's on this list, then you're going to use the email key to connect it to that third-party lead source. Now, if your third-party lead source is not on that support guide, that doesn't mean it can't be connected to kvCORE. Just means that you may be using Zapier to connect, and there's instructions on how to connect using Zapier. We got guides here on the right as well for Zillow, email, and Zapier as well. Now, third way to connect contacts. Let's talk about connecting a Gmail or a Google Mail or an Outlook Mail account. Now, I'll give you a quick demo. It's so quick and easy to do. I've got Google. I don't have an Outlook, so I'm clicked on Google here. I got a little pop-up on the side. It's going to ask me what email I want to connect here if you have more than one, or it might just show the one if you just got one. It's going to ask for permission to connect. I'm going to hit allow. Now, after a brief but dramatic pause, it's going to refresh my whole screen here. Now, I just want to sing the Jeopardy song as we're waiting here. Do, 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 do. There we go. And I'm going to click back on that mail icon. And if I didn't point it out, you can access that envelope icon or that mail icon from any page in kvCORE. It's always going to be up here at the top. So automatically, after I've connected that Gmail to the platform, it's going to show all of my emails. Now, if I go to Google settings, I can choose what's displaying or what I'm actually seeing in the platform. Now, we mentioned that I can sync contact emails. If I've got contacts in my CRM that are also in my Gmail, I can see any email correspondence that I've sent to them through Gmail here in my platform. So that's one option. I can also sync my calendar here. So again, I went to the settings after I had it synced. It'll be the same way if you're connecting Outlook. You go connect your Outlook, and then after it's been connected, little reminder, click on that envelope. Instead of Google settings, it'll say Outlook settings at the bottom there. So I can sync my calendar here. I'll show you where the calendar pops up on the main dashboard. And then I have an option for contacts if I want to sync over my contacts. Now, I mentioned this is a two-way sync, and there's a couple different ways that you can sync contacts, manually or always. And there's a little explanation about each. Manually means that you're choosing which contacts to sync over. Always means that it's just always going to sync the contacts. Now, there's pros and cons to this option, most definitely. If you have, say, maybe for a lot of you out there with my Android phone users, you may already have your Android phone contacts backing up to, say, a Gmail account. And connecting that Gmail account to your kvCORE platform means they're all just going to automatically sync into kvCORE. Sounds pretty quick and easy and convenient, right? So that's definitely a pro. I know a lot of agents that use this method. Where the con comes in is I'll let you guys know, if choosing this contact syncing option for all those contacts that are brought over from Gmail, you only get to choose the status. There's no option for deal type. You don't get to hashtag them. You go back into your CRM after they've been added and you can update them later, but they won't automatically come in with the labels of your choosing. So I can choose one status. If I choose, say Sphere, everyone that's coming over from Gmail is going to be listed as a Sphere contact. I'm going to go change their deal type or hashtags as I see fit as I go along, or change their status if I need to. Now, keep in mind, I can also bulk export my Gmail contacts and bring them in bulk, and I can use that bulk import method we showcased first, and I can actually label in my spreadsheet, hey, this person's Sphere, this person's a new lead, this person's a client, this one's a buyer, a seller, a renter, hashtag, best friend. You get the idea. So, use whichever method makes most sense to you. I'm someone who tends to be really particular about how things are labeled, so I like the bulk import option. But if you need something like a continuous sync, this is another alternative. Just know that you'll be updating those contacts later. All right, and I'll go and I'll save these settings so I can show you where that Google Calendar or Outlook calendar will show. It's going to be, as I mentioned, on the main dashboard. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Some things that you'll notice here. We've got our activity. This is going to show you what's going on in the platform and your website, viewed listings, new leads, things like that. You got your daily calls and tasks here. And then just to the right of that says calendar. If I go click on calendar, now the test account that I connected here doesn't really have anything on their Google Calendar, so looks pretty blank. But if I had a lot of information on my Google Calendar, it would all show up here. So just another handy way that you can kind of use your platform to be your one-stop shop. Now, I noticed Louise in the chat asked, can you do both Outlook and Gmail? One thing to note here is I can only connect one email address at a time, unfortunately. So I could sync this one, bring contacts over, and then technically disconnect it and then connect a different one, but I can't have them both connected at the same time. So unfortunately, it is just one email at a time if you're using this method. And then Jim said, I have top producer, can notes sync over? Now for top producer, if you're paying for top producer and you're thinking this kind of in a third-party sync option, I don't know that we can sync necessarily with top producer. Oh, it does say top producer on that list. I haven't tested it in a while, but I do believe your notes should come over. I know for a fact if you're bulk importing contacts from top producer, because I've had a lot of agents, I've helped a lot of agents over the year that have exported their contacts from top producer into a file, then absolutely, if you've got a column in there that says notes, those all come in. I believe it does work the same way for syncing third-party leads as well, though. And you'll typically just see those notes in their contact timeline. So for each person you go and check them, you'll see it'll usually be what looks like a little yellow post-it notes, and it will show you any notes about that contact here. So that's kind of how notes do sync over. And yes, it is a two-way sync with your calendar as well. So something to be aware of, with kvCORE, I won't get into this too much because we're reaching the end of our time. The platform may assign, calls and tasks for you. Maybe you scheduled a call for yourself or a campaign scheduled a call for you. If you have a call scheduled in your platform, you've synced your calendar, that can show up on your Google Calendar as well. So that way you're kind of notified in both places. Hey, I've got a call coming up or a task to complete on a particular day. So yes, it is a two-way sync with the calendar as well. All right. So little reminder, you guys. Yes, this webinar was recorded. For anyone who missed it, I'll share our recording sheet again. So if this is your first time attending, this recording sheet is a great one to bookmark. I will make sure in a couple hours after today's webinar that under the Building Your Pipeline tab that today's webinar gets added. So you can always go back and reference this. Or hey, if you want a different agent's perspective, my fellow coworker Brett has taught this webinar. My fellow, or actually our training director Kelly has taught this webinar. So you can always watch kind of their perspective of it as well. The sheet also has recordings of the how it works, generate new leads. It has recordings for, say, powering up your automations. So there's lots of options all there recorded in the spreadsheet. Little reminder as well for you guys. If you're looking to register to any of those webinars live, got all the links here in this link tree, or you should be able to access those registration links, I believe, through your Max Center University as well. And then I just saw in the Q&A, I also used Yahoo for years. I exported the contacts to RE/MAX Center. Are they going to be automatically added? So I'm not sure what you mean by exported the contacts to RE/MAX Center. But I know for a lot of people, they had contacts in a third-party source that was provided through RE/MAX. So something like Booge contacts and things like that. In those cases, I have heard that those should be third-party synced automatically and show up in your Smart CRM. So if you haven't yet gotten access to the platform, when you do, go click on your Smart CRM and check if there's already contacts in here. Those contacts are likely coming over from something through RE/MAX, whether that be, I know some people said that there was contacts in there and they don't even have Booge. So I'm assuming it might be maybe contacts that you added to your Max Center. But yes, if you're seeing any contacts in there, double check those are probably your contacts from a previous service. And then Cecilia asked, quick question, how can we add languages we speak in our profile? So I know the profiles are a little tricky for you guys. They're a little hidden menu in the corner where you go click on your name. You click the profile button, and you can see a lot of that information. Now, for me, when I hit edit profile, I can fill out all these boxes, but I know for a lot of you, these are going to look like they're grayed out and you can't fill them out here. In those cases, if it's grayed out, typically you can go edit that contact information in your Max Center. Now, if you go to Max Center and you don't see a box for something like spoken languages, which I'm assuming it might be the issue, if you've already tried this method, you've already gone to Max Center to try to fix your profile, then I would reach out to our support team, or if you guys have your own internal support for RE/MAX or Max Center, and they might be able to have a workaround for that. I have heard that there's been some issues with some profile details. Oh, the box is there. Okay. And then how do we add more than one language? Now, I don't know what it would look like in Max Center, but in your kvCORE account, I just keep clicking each one and you'll see that there's a box of each one added. So that's how I do it in kvCORE. I apologize, I don't have Max Center to showcase here, unfortunately. So I don't know if it operates differently in Max Center, but if that's how it looks like on your kvCORE platform, then that's how you would do it. Hope that helps to clarify. All right, we are, I think, reaching the end of time. I apologize, I do have to go. Thank you guys for your excellent questions. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys are excited and ready to bring your contacts into your MAXtech Powered by kvCORE platform. You guys were wonderful. Have a lovely rest of your day. Take care.